WWE Backlash 2025 was intended to be the defining night for Seth Rollins, a moment of ultimate triumph where he would step into the spotlight as not just a visionary but the architect of WWE's future. This night was supposed to cement his dominance, his wisdom, his legacy. With Braun Breaker standing beside him as the embodiment of his influence and Paul Heyman, infamous for guiding legends, whispering strategy into his ear, Rollins was ready to craft a dynasty that would reshape the very foundation of the WWE. The arena was electric, the crowd alive with anticipation, and the moment Rollins entered the ring after a decisive victory, the energy was nearly combustible. Rollins, draped in pride, confidence, and ambition, stood tall with Breaker and Heyman flanking him like sentinels. He grabbed the microphone and launched into one of his signature tirades, boasting about his intellect, his vision, and how he had sculpted Braun Breaker into the future of wrestling. He lauded Heyman as the genius who saw beyond the obvious, and painted himself as the sole survivor of the Shield, the mastermind who had outlasted chaos and emerged as the only man still forging WWE's destiny. His words were sharp, mocking Roman Reigns, belittling the fans, and most notably, tearing into the memory of Dean Ambrose. He called Ambrose unstable, the weak link of the Shield, a man too chaotic to ever lead, too reckless to ever build anything lasting. Rollins declared that the era of lunacy was over and that WWE would now be ruled by discipline, precision, and dominance. And then, in a single, chilling sentence, he said what would ignite the firestorm: "The lunatic is long gone, and this is the era of vision." With those words, the arena went dark. A deafening silence fell, broken only by a flicker of light from thousands of phones held high by fans sensing that something massive was about to happen. And then, it came, a distorted, shrieking tone rising like a siren from the speakers, followed by a theme not heard in years. The crowd erupted into absolute chaos as the unmistakable sound of Jon Moxley's entrance shook the building. This wasn't a cheer, it was a collective explosion of disbelief, joy, rage, and awe. Moxley, the man who once walked away from WWE as Dean Ambrose, wasn't just returning, he was storming back into the narrative with fury in his eyes and destruction in his heart. Emerging not from the entrance ramp but from the sea of people, he made his way toward the ring, his leather jacket billowing as he moved with the raw intensity of a man on a mission. Every step was deliberate, every stare was a warning. Inside the ring, the dynamic shifted instantly. Rollins' smirk faltered. Breaker braced for impact. Heyman's eyes widened in horror. He knew Moxley wasn't nostalgia, he was the reckoning. Moxley climbed into the ring, face to face with Rollins, the energy in the arena so thick it felt like it could crush steel. The crowd chanted his name in thunderous unity, and Moxley said nothing. He didn't need to. His eyes told the story: rage, betrayal, brotherhood shattered, and justice long delayed. And then, in an instant, he struck. The chaos was immediate. Braun Breaker rushed forward only to be cracked with a vicious elbow. Rollins tried a sneak attack, but Moxley countered with a brutal German suplex. Chairs flew, tables shattered, and the ring became a war zone. Security swarmed, but Moxley plowed through them like they were paper, all the while never losing sight of Rollins. Blood trickled from Seth's mouth, his coat torn, his image as the Messiah fractured. The backstage locker room watched in stunned silence. Superstars huddled around monitors, jaws slack, some whispering, others grinning. Somewhere, Roman Reigns must have felt the tremor in the hierarchy. This wasn't just a personal vendetta, this was a shift in the power structure. Moxley stood tall in the ring, breathing like a man just freed from a cage, and finally, he picked up a mic. In a voice low and cold, he said, "You talk too much, Seth. Let's see how loud you are when you're choking on your own lies." Then he dropped the mic and disappeared back into the crowd, leaving a stadium on its feet, stunned, roaring. This was no comeback, this was a declaration of war. Just when the crowd thought the moment had passed, the arena was hit again. The familiar entrance music rang out, shaking the walls. Moxley had returned not to relive glory but to annihilate everything Rollins had built. He didn't walk the ramp. He cut through the fans, trenchcoat wrapped around him like armor, eyes burning with vengeance. This wasn't nostalgia. This was retribution. Rollins' face twisted from confidence to concern. They shared a history soaked in blood and betrayal, but now the brotherhood was gone. Braun Breaker tried to stand tall, but Moxley didn't flinch, walking straight through the chaos toward his prey. Heyman's composure cracked. He had seen what Moxley was capable of, and this wasn't the return of a hero. This was a warning shot from a man with nothing to lose. As Moxley entered the ring once more, Rollins tried to play it cool, scoffing, dismissing Moxley as a relic. But the tension was unbearable. And then the first punch flew. The brawl was brutal. Breakker joined the fray but was quickly overwhelmed. The match spilled out into the crowd, across tables, over barricades. Rollins tried to maintain control, but it was gone. Moxley brought chaos, pure and unstoppable, and the empire Rollins envisioned began to crumble. Questions hung heavy in the air. Was Moxley here to stay? Would he stop at nothing to destroy Rollins? Could Breakker recover, or would he be consumed by the madness? And what of Heyman, trapped between monsters, and in the shadows, Roman Reigns watching it all unfold, still silent, still powerful? Would he stand with order or embrace the firestorm? One truth echoed above all: WWE had been changed forever. Jon Moxley was back, and this was only the beginning.